Happy video day, guys. Christina, Brooke here. Today we're going to be doing a make up your mind. So I know you guys love these videos and I love filming them for you guys, and I have two coming up. I have Natasha's palette that's going to be coming pretty soon too. But today we're going to be focusing on the Urbandecay one that just got announced. So this one is called the Wild Greens. At least that's what I see online. At this moment, I don't know how much it's going to cost, but I may know by the time I'm editing, and if I do, that'll show up right here. And if not, it will say I don't know. But I do believe I read that this is going to be launching around the 27th or something like that of this month. So this is pretty exciting. This is a green inspired palette. Aren't we excited? I feel like a lot of you guys out there love to see greens and we hardly ever see them, but I think that we're going to see a lot of them coming. I'm just guessing. But anyway, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to look through my collection, and I'm going to try to mimic this palette to the best of my ability so that I can kind of get an idea of what the color story might look like, kind of decide whether this is something I want to add to my collection or not. So I do think that I was able to find a pretty similar color story, mixing and matching a few of my different palettes. So we're going to go ahead and find it in my collection so that we can, you know, make an educated guess before purchasing this palette instead of just buying it and then realizing like, why did I buy this? So we're gonna go ahead and do that. If you are not subscribed already though, don't forget to go ahead and hit the subscribe button, join the family. I love talking about makeup, and if you like that, you'll probably like it. So let's go ahead and let's jump into it right now. Okay, so first I want to show you guys, let me show you guys the results. So this is what I came up with, okay? So Urbandecay has released their swatches on arm swatches. I feel like, you know, they're kind of okay. I don't think the quality of the picture was that good, so I think I was able to match this up. Might be a little bit off, but I get an idea of what this color story looks like. What do you guys think right now? Like, do you think I'm loving this or do you think I'm hating it? I want to know from you guys. Let's see how many of you guys know me. Leave that comment down below. Do I love this or do I hate this? So let me go ahead and show you guys the palettes I jumped into. It was quite a few because I really wanted to match this up good. Huda Beauty's Wild Python, Huda Beauty's Khaki Obsessions, Huda Beauty, no, really another one. Huda Beauty Emerald Obsessions. Then I jumped into the Dose of Colors Cutting Edge and Natasha Denona's Retro. And finally, just for one color, because literally they put like a creamy metallic in there that none of those palettes had, I jumped into Jaclyn Hill. So those are the palettes that I used to mimic this color story. Like I tell you guys, I try to do it as perfect as possible. So I usually jump into quite a few palettes. If you were just like trying to get like a similar idea, some of these palettes already have similar ideas. They just don't have all the colors. So let's go ahead and let's start swatching this. Let me show you guys how I came up with this color story. So let's open up my notes because yeah, I don't memorize this. So for the very first color, what I did was I jumped into this Dose of Colors palette, which is kind of broken. So need to be careful. The beautiful gold in it has gotten crushed, so it's very sad. But I jumped into this beautiful metallic green right here. So I think it's gonna look similar to this. There's also a really similar color inside of the Charlotte Tilbury palette, the palette that she released last year. So I'm gonna go ahead and swatch it right here to show you guys. So this is a beautiful Hunter, this is a beautiful like grungy metallic green. That's how I can describe it. I really love this color, okay? So it looks like this palette may have that color that I love. I have it all over the top of my lid. So today's look is going to be up on Instagram, but it's also a kind of like mimicked color story look based off of the colors that I picked from this palette. So this is something maybe you could create if you buy the new palette. But yeah, so this is the color. I love that color. First color has me all sorts of excited because it's just like my favorite. Then the next one I jumped right into Cutting Edge again, and I got this limeish green. Now I will be honest, I didn't think I was gonna like this lime green in the Dose of Color palette, but I did realize mixed with some of the other colors, the lime green actually did like a really cool detail. It actually kind of just like worked well, especially with like peaches and greens. So even though it's not like a color that I love, because I don't really like that limeish green, I like more of like the darker greens, but this is actually pretty, and I know that because of that palette. So the first two colors I do like. So then the third one is also a color that I think is really cool. It is a little bit limey too, at least that's what the picture looks like. So what I did was I jumped into Emerald Obsessions and I mixed these two colors right here, a little bit of the top, a little bit of the bottom, and they kind of look like this. One's a little darker, one's a little bit more lime, but when you kind of mix them together, they create a color that looks very similar to the color that's coming out in the new palette. So I do feel like this is a cool color. And the reason I think this is a cool color is because it is like that limeish, greenish metallic. When you blend it with any of like these type of greens and put it in like the inner portion of the eye, it does a really cool accent. This color here that I don't really love, but I do know works pretty well with these greens, if you put it in the inside and then you just put that lime everywhere, it does a really cool look. So yeah, I kind of like it. I kind of like the first three colors. They are totally a vibe. I'm vibing with it. So the next one, I jumped into Emerald Obsessions again and grabbed this color right here. So this is like a greeny blue. I think it's gonna look similar to this. I looked at different swatches and I think it's gonna be pretty close. It goes more in the green family, but if you guys can see, there's like a little hint of a blue in there. I think it might look like this, okay? So I think it might. This color is also really, really pretty and it's exciting to see. I will say the first four colors, even though they are gorgeous and I really do like them, it's a different direction than my dream green palette, which I'm hoping Natasha's creating for me this year in retro too. But I do think that this right here is a good start, but it's not like my dream green palette, but I do think I will like it so far. Then the next one I also got inside of this Emerald Obsessions, and it's this color right here. It's kind of like a fly. It's kind of like a lightish green minty color. It looks more blue in the pan, but when you put it on and you swatch this color, it actually goes off more green. So that's why I knew that this color might match it pretty well, because I remember that this one swatches a lot more of minty green than it swatches like blue. I think this one might be very close, and I will say that in the pan it doesn't look exciting, but when you put it on your lid, it does do a really interesting effect, and I have used that color just like all over the lid and then played around with some of these like more metallic-y colors on top, and it does a really pretty look. This Emerald Obsessions, looking so unwearable as it does, is so beautiful, especially for those light, very pretty green eyes that are just like insane. Like, I love this palette, and I do feel like there's a nice play off of that palette in the beginning of this palette. So I do like so far the colors in here. So here's where it gets a little complicated. I ended up having to bring in retro because it almost looks like they added a little bit of like a mauvey pink in here. This one is tricky. By the swatch, I'm gonna say it looks like nude mauve inside of the retro palette. But I'll be honest, this one's kind of a toss-up. I can't really tell 100% from the swatch, but I think it might be like nude mauve. If it is, I will tell you, that is kind of cool, because that's a really interesting color to mix with some of these greens, because it has a little bit of a pinky undertone, but it is like a real cool tone color. So I kind of think that that would look quite pretty. Next one, I jumped into Patty, and I think it might look similar to Patty. It has a little bit of like a pinky, but a little bit of an orange color to it. It depends on the swatch. So I think it's gonna look like that. It's gonna be a little bit orangey, a little bit pinky, a little bit more orangey than pinky, but I think it's very pretty. So I think it's gonna look like Patty. Okay, so those two colors are my wild card colors. I'm not sure. But since I had to jump into like a completely different style palette, that's why I'm like, I wonder. Then I jumped into the Wild Python again. Now this is an interesting color because this is like one of those, I love these corally shades, especially with the greens, and it all depends on how corally it is. Now, I think it's gonna be a combination of these two colors from Wild Python. So if I grab a little bit of this coral, which is too bright, I don't think it's going to be as bright as this one, and I add a little bit of this brown to soften it on top. It creates like more of like a subdued corally kind of pink, and I think it might look like that one. That actually could be really, really pretty. It's what I blended on the top of my eyes today, and I really love these colors with green. I'm a huge advocate for putting like these corally kind of pinky colors with the green, because I just think that they really pop. And they look so good with green. So I really hope it's that. And it's definitely a matte. So I'm excited about that. I think that could be a super useful shade, and I think I'm gonna love it. I hope I love it. Okay, so the next one I also went into Wild Python. Now I think it's gonna look similar to this color up here, even though I think it might have a little bit more gold than the Wild Python. So I think this is going to be a metallic-y, a little bit of like a gold. It's gonna be golder than this one, at least from the swatch. It looks like the other one's gonna look more lime, and then this one's gonna have a little bit more of a gold lean. That's really pretty. So what I like about this is I can mix it with maybe like these kind of like pinkies here and create a completely different look that goes away from the greens. So I am seeing two different areas of colors that you can use, but I do love that they all blend together really good. All right, so then we have a brown, a nice deepening shade. I'm so happy this is in here. So I went into Khaki Obsessions and I got this brown. So it almost looks like it's like a brown with a little bit more of like a hint of red in it. I don't know. This is what I'm seeing from it. So it's going to be a stronger brown. It's not a super bark-like dark deep brown. It almost looks like it has a little bit of lightness to it, but it's definitely deeper than all the other colors. So I do like that. Outer edge deepening, smoky eye look. So I think it could change up the look. I do like mixing browns with green, especially for outer edge work. And then actually for these kind of colors here, you can almost start to do something that's reminiscent of kind of like a sunset eye. You could put like the brown all the way down, then blend a little bit of like the lighter pinks on top and kind of like do a gradient. So it's a different kind of look. You can mix it with both areas, so I do like that. So then I like this one too. So in the Khaki Obsessions, there's this color right here in the middle that's like a pink. Now what I like about this pink, which I think is gonna carry on into this palette, is it is a baby pink, but it's almost like that beautiful baby pink. Like this is a pink that I like to wear on my eyes. It's like a dusty pink. To me, dusty pink is beautiful. So I know I always tell you guys I hate pink, like I can't stand pink for the lids, but that doesn't apply to dusty pink. Dusty pink is a neutral. This looks like it's a dusty pink, and if it is, it's a neutral to me, and it looks amazing. And finally, the reason that I added Jaclyn Hill in, you guys heard, is because I just needed a cream. It's so funny because they actually put in a stark kind of like creamy metallic, which I haven't seen in palettes lately. They've been doing them a little bit more like pinky based, or they have like a certain base to them, and I swatched so many of them, and I was like, I don't have any that have like a cream kind of lighter base except for in Jaclyn Hill. So what I did was just mix these two together to make like a nice stark metallic-y cream inner corner highlight color, which I think it's gonna look similar to that. It might not be as vibrant, it might be a little bit more toned down, but it's gonna have more of a cream undertone from what I see in the picture than it will like a pink, which we've been seeing a lot lately. So this is the palette. Like I'm buying this like right when it comes out. So if you were one of the people that said like, Christina, you're gonna love this, yes, you were totally on my brain. You're on my train of thought, the brainwave. We are flying into the green land together. I am very excited for this palette. Now I'm not gonna say that this is a dream color story for me because it is a little off. I love the fact that they introduced the peaches in here. That's totally my style, and I love the fact that there's greens in here. The only thing is the variation of the tone of the colors that for me, when it came to like the peachy colors, I wish there was a little bit more range inside the peaches. And then when it came to the green, I also wish that there was like a really deep green matte in here and maybe a little bit more of a transitional shade of a green than just the lime. But I have to say it looks really pretty and I'm excited for it. It kind of reminds me, and I did not use this palette today because the colors are not exact and the tones are not exact. But it reminds me of like the Starry Eyes to Hypnotize, if you guys can see. So if you picked up this palette, is that what it was called? Smoky Eyes Are Forever. I'm so sorry. It reminds me of this palette. But you can probably do very similar eyes with this palette. But I'm kind of excited for this one either way. So I'm going to just say right now, of course, what do you guys think? I am definitely going to be picking this up, so I'm making up my mind and saying yes, I'm going to buy this because I think it's a beautiful addition to my collection. I don't have that much green in my collection for loving green so much because many brands don't release greenish palettes, at least not green palettes that I find are very beautiful. So I'm excited. I'm very excited. I hope the quality is good. Urbandecay, it better be like the Born to Run style. I want to see really good quality on this palette, so I'm excited. You guys will be seeing a review coming up really soon. Let me know down below if you guys are planning on picking this up and if you like it and what do you guys think. So anyways, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.